Hello, I'm John Feldt, and this is the Blue Water Outlook Weekly Water Outlook. Well, it's been a very busy week across parts of the nation. I want to start off by showing the importance of the jet stream. Now, last week, the jet stream came into the northwest U.S., it dug down to the southwest U.S., and came back out here into the middle part of the nation. The wind barbs here, these little coated wind barbs, are indicating very high level winds, and as these pushed down into the southwest U.S. and came up into the Midwest, that is what provided the atmospheric energy and the shear to produce not only strong thunderstorms but tornadic thunderstorms over parts of the middle part of the nation. So the jet stream is very important as far as precipitation patterns and the potential for severe weather. I wanted to show the rainfall patterns over the last week from a national perspective. We have a couple things of very significant interest here. Number one is the widespread precipitation over the Midwest here, in this area right here. That fell over the Missouri, Mississippi, Illinois river basins, and very significant flooding is occurring or expected due to that heavy rainfall. Look how widespread that area of yellow is. That's 3 inches or more. And even more impressive, the areas of red, 6 inches or more. Look at that, covers all the entire northern part of Missouri, large parts of Illinois and Iowa as well. And that's what's producing the near major flooding or major flooding over parts of the Missouri, Mississippi, and Illinois river basins. The second trend here, key trend, are these tracks right here. Look at these linear type tracks. When you see those type of linear tracks, that represents individual thunderstorm tracks or clusters of thunderstorms. So even though there was severe weather in Missouri, this is more of a widespread type precipitation pattern. This is more of a mesoscale or even microscale type pattern. This produced the severe weather. These are two different events. You can see storms moved in two different directions. We also have these streaks right in here as well. The third trend I want to point out is the continuing very dry weather over the southwest U.S. No rain whatsoever. So two of the main precipitation patterns over the last week dealt with heavy rainfall. One included very dry weather. So we see from a perspective of too much rain or not enough, the areas in purple received as much as 4 to 6 times normal rain for the week. The areas in red received no rain whatsoever, so the southwest and southeast were very dry, and that's what I said last week. I said we were going to have this area dry, and right in the middle we were going to have the action, and that looks like it worked out pretty much as forecast over the last week. Another way to look at this is the departure from normal rainfall. I wanted to point out these areas of purple are 4, 5, or 6 inches more precipitation than normal over this given week. That means either through runoff, evaporation, or evapotranspiration, we're going to probably need to lose some of that moisture to dry out the upper soils. And certainly a lot of that's going to go into runoff because soils were wet, but a lot of it is also saturated the upper soils and even the lower soils now. That's going to take quite a number of days of warm temperatures and dry weather to pull that out of that soil. I mentioned flooding. Keep in mind here the red are indicating moderate flooding and purple major. Moderate flooding, you tend to get some secondary roads inundated, and then in the purple you get definitely some secondary roads and also the possibility of structures being inundated. So scattered spots of major flooding in the Missouri River and fairly widespread major flooding all the way from Burlington down towards St. Louis, and maybe even beginning to work its way south of St. Louis now on the Mississippi River and their tributaries, as well as moderate flooding over parts of the Illinois River Basin. Matter of fact, I looked at that on my flood briefing yesterday, and a number of those spots are going to come in close to the 5th highest flood on record. So this is a major flood event on the Mississippi River. Now this week looks like it's going to be a lot quieter than last week. Remember that jet stream pattern I showed you with the southwest and this very strong jet energy? Well, this week it's going to be well to the north, and that means any organized precipitation will also be well to the north. It's also going to be a lot lighter in intensity and coverage because the upper atmospheric energy just isn't anywhere near as active as last week. Over the broad part of the southern part of the nation, there will be some scattered precipitation, but for the most part it looks fairly quiet compared to last week. Now we do have something to watch as far as tropical activity. I've been putting out a tropical update from time to time. If you listen to that, you might have noticed I say it's not unusual for some weak tropical activity to develop in the Caribbean or the Eastern Gulf this time of year, but it's usually very weak. And that's what the models have been saying that will occur this week. This area of disturbed weather could drift up towards the northeast and produce very heavy rain over southern and central parts of Florida late this week into next weekend. We'll have to see where it goes. With this weakest system, it's possible it could go a little bit further north. The models were hinting at that earlier this week. But right now, it looks like it's going to move more east and affect central and south Florida. There's very little sign or no indication of an intensification of this, but keep in mind, even with very weak systems, you can get very heavy rain and the possibility of flooding. So here's the big picture, the forecast for rainfall over the next week. Mainly a fairly quiet pattern. There's some scattered precipitation here and there. Very, very quiet over the western U.S. No rain expected. Very dry over this area. In the middle part of the nation, scattered type precipitation. We really want it to dry out over this area right here, Missouri, Iowa, parts of Illinois. It looks like it's going to be sort of a mixed bag. Cooler temperatures, scattered showers, but we're also going to have quite a few drier days. So I think between the cooler temperatures and the drier days, there will be some improvement, but there will also be some scattered showers and thunderstorms. Over the southeast U.S., very quiet last week. This week it looks like some scattered activity, but mainly a summertime type pattern with scattered afternoon and evening thunderstorms over most of the area, maybe a bit more over the Carolinas. And then if you see in Florida, that's that tropical activity, the potential for tropical moisture moving into that area. Now week 2, just taking a glance at week 2, wanted to show once again over the western U.S., very dry over the western U.S. It looks like 2 weeks of well below normal precipitation. Conditions of drought in Texas, I think, are going to be expanding fairly noticeably over the next couple weeks. Elsewhere, pretty much just scattered type precipitation. That precipitation in South Dakota over week 2. Right now, I'm a little skeptical of that. That area has been somewhat more active, North Dakota into Minnesota. It could occur, but I think generally speaking, we're looking at more normal, scattered type precipitation patterns over week 2. Over the southeast U.S., it looks like also more continuing daily, or at least clusters of several days in a row, and then some dry days of scattered showers and thunderstorms. I think it's going to be more noticeable, the temperature type patterns. Over the western U.S., it looks like well above normal temperatures, and then a cool pocket over the central part of the U.S. extending into the eastern U.S. Green is representing cooler than normal temperatures. Red is above normal temperatures. The image on the top is the 6 to 10 day outlook, and the bottom one's the 8 to 14 day outlook. And you can see those are very predominant patterns of temperature as we go into the middle part of June. Soil moisture changes. Blue are indicated as far as increases in soil moisture, and browns are decrease in soil moisture. You can see a very large part of the western U.S. is decreasing soil moisture. This area here into the Midwest, many of these areas would be welcome to have soil moisture decreases, and that's even though cooler temperatures are expected, it looks like we're going to have a stretch of some dry weather. And then this is that pattern that's been fairly active for quite some time. That area is the upper tier of the U.S. could remain fairly wet. And then this week it looks like there could be some scattered showers in this area. I'm a little bit skeptical of that, but if that does occur, that could bring some very needed moisture to that area. But I think that's going to be early in the period. After that, it looks like overall fairly dry. So the takeaway points from this week's briefing: not nearly as active this week as last week. There will be some scattered showers and storms with cooler weather over the northern parts of the U.S. Summer type pattern over the south with warmer temperatures over the western U.S., scattered daily thunderstorms over the southeast U.S., and then that chance of tropical activity over South Florida. Now, I have a busy week as far as information going out from Blue Water Outlook. My newsletter will be coming out tomorrow. I have a lot of information about summer type time activity as well as the long-term drought oscillations. And I will be issuing information throughout the week, including information on that possible tropical activity in South Florida. Thank you for listening. I'll be talking again with you next week.